Okay, so today we're learning part 2 of our lesson on polygons. We should be on page 494 in our books. Page 494. Okay, yesterday we learned a couple terms. Make sure that you have these down in your notes. A quadrilateral is a geometric figure made up of 4 sides, and each one of those sides meet at their endpoints. Okay, they intersect at their endpoints. A polygon is a geometric figure made up of 3 or more sides. So a polygon can have 3 sides, 4 sides, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It can have a lot of different sides, but it's always made up of line segments that intersect at their endpoints. A regular polygon has congruent sides and angles, meaning that all of their sides and angles have the exact same measure. Okay, and yesterday we talked about special quadrilaterals and the different types of those. The first one we talked about was a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. And we express parallel lines with arrows. Okay? So I can use an arrow to show that the lines are parallel. So if you don't have that on the figure you drew yesterday, make sure that you draw those arrows on the figures. Now with a parallelogram, it has 2 pairs of parallel sides, but I have to have a way of differentiating the two. So I can use one arrow to show that 2 sides are parallel, but then for the top and bottom, I have to use 2 arrows to show that they're different. Alright, so the top and bottom will be different. Alright, those are arrows. Alright, so I use arrows to show which lines are parallel with each other. That's a trapezoid and parallelogram. And then yesterday we learned about 3 different types of parallelograms: rectangles, rhombus, and squares. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Well, if it's a parallelogram, that means that it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So I need to label those. Again, I can label the sides with 1 arrow, and the top and bottom with 2 arrows. The only reason the top and bottom have 2 arrows is so I can tell the difference. Another thing about the rectangle is that I have 2 pairs of congruent sides as well, meaning they're the same measure. There is a difference between a congruent side and a parallel side. Parallel just means that they're the same distance across from each other. Congruent means that they're the same measure as one another. And I show a congruent side with a hash mark. Now, my 2 other sides are congruent as well, but they're different. So I can show those using the 2 hash marks. Okay? That's a rectangle. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides, and I can show that again with my hash marks to show that the 4 sides of a rhombus are, in fact, congruent. They're all the same. Then a square. A square has 4 right angles. I see that because of the box that's drawn, the boxes that are drawn in each of the angles, and 4 congruent sides. So again, I have my hash mark in each one of the sides, and this shows that the sides are congruent. Alright, that's important in the example that we're about to do. And again, they have 2 pairs of parallel sides as well. So I can mark my parallel sides using my arrows. And then 1 arrow on the sides to show that those 2 lines are parallel. Alright, so today we're just taking a step further and just talking about the different markings. Hash marks show congruent sides and the arrows show parallel sides. Now, in example 1, we're classifying a quadrilateral based on the clues that it gives us. Okay? So, we're going to draw it, that's what it means to sketch it, and then we're going to classify it. What type of quadrilateral do I see? So here, the quadrilateral has opposite sides parallel. So I know that I have two pairs of parallel sides. One side length of 3 centimeters and another side length of 1 centimeter. Okay? Quadrilateral that has two pairs of parallel sides. So what does that rule out? If it has two pairs, what does it rule out? Andrew? No. What does it rule out? The trapezoid, right? The trapezoid only has one pair, so I know it's not a trapezoid. All right, so now I'm down to parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, or square. But it says that it has sides. One side is 3 centimeters, and the other side is 1 centimeter. So can it be a square or a rhombus? No, it can't, because a square and a rhombus have all sides congruent. So what does it have to be? It has to be a rectangle. All right, so I can just, oh, yes, or a parallelogram. That's a very good point. Which one is it? Does it say that I have right angles? No. So now which one does it have to be? It has to be a parallelogram. Very good. Okay, so I can kind of use process of elimination to figure it out. All right, so I'm going to draw my parallelogram. I'm going to connect the different sides. Make sure you're doing this in your notes. It does look somewhat like a rhombus, but remember, a rhombus has all the sides equal, and this only has pairs of sides that are equal. So I have 3 centimeters and 1 centimeter. 3 centimeters and 1 centimeter. Basically used the clues to figure out that it is, in fact, a parallelogram. All right, so the last thing I need to show here is that I have two pairs of parallel sides. So my 2 arrows, top and bottom, and my 1 arrow on the sides shows that I have 2 pairs of parallel lines. Okay, now you try one. Sketch and classify a quadrilateral with 4 right angles, 4 congruent sides of length 2.5 centimeters, and both pairs of opposite sides parallel. So make sure you include all of those. So what do you do when they're congruent? How do you show that? How do you show a right angle? How do you show parallel sides? And then tell me what type of figure you drew. All right, so I have a square here. How do I know that I have a square? How do I know, Kathy?
4 right angles and 4 congruent sides.
Very good. 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. So I know that I have a square. I show the right angles with a box in each corner. I show the congruent sides by the hash mark on each side. And I show that they're parallel by drawing my arrows. 1, 2 arrows for top and bottom, and 2 arrows for the sides. Okay? The reason I have 2 arrows top and bottom and 1 arrow on the sides is to show which lines match up with each other. Okay? That's the only reason. So I could have had 2 on the sides and 1 on the top and bottom. It doesn't matter. All right? But that would be how I draw the sketch of a square. Then we talked about polygons, classifying polygons. So everybody with me together, what do the angles of a triangle add up to equal? 180 degrees. What about a quadrilateral? 360 degrees. And I could divide that into 2 triangles. 2 triangles add up to be 360 degrees. What about a pentagon? 540 degrees. And again, I could divide a pentagon into 3 triangles, and 3 triangles add up to be 540 degrees. For a hexagon, what do they add up to be? 720 degrees. And guess what? I could divide it into 4 triangles. Okay? That would equal 720 degrees when you add 180 4 times. So, classifying polygons, make sure that you have their angle measures memorized. It's a lot easier to solve. Number 5 on your homework looks a lot like this. Okay? So you are going to need to break it up into its different triangles. Now, the last 2 polygons that we talked about were the heptagon and the octagon. The heptagon's total measures total what?
900 degrees.
900 degrees. And the octagon?
1,080 degrees.
Very good. 1,080 degrees. So make sure, again, that you have that memorized. All right, so now let's get to example 2. Classifying polygons. A polygon is only a polygon if the lines are straight. If you have curved lines, those are not line segments, therefore it is not a polygon. So the first figure up here on the left, is that a polygon?
No.
No. What about the arrow?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay, since it's a polygon, what type of polygon is it? How would you classify it?
Triangle with a hexagon.
Hexagon, heptagon, what do you think?
Hexagon.
Add the total number of sides. So let's add them. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is a heptagon. Very good, it's a heptagon.
How many degrees is that?
It's going to total to be what? A heptagon totals to be 900 degrees. All right, what about this bottom left one?
Rhombus.
Yes, it is. And what is it? It's a quadrilateral, and more specifically, it's a rhombus. More specifically, it's a rhombus, okay? So it's a quadrilateral. I would accept just quadrilateral unless I was asking for something more specific. All right, what about the bottom middle figure? No, it's not. Why? Because it has curves in the corners. So since it has curves in the corners, it can't be a polygon. All right, what about the bottom right one? Yes, and what type of? It's a pentagon. Very good. We'll abbreviate. All right, so example 2 is just about recognizing what is a polygon and what is not, and classifying it. Now let me ask you this. What if I gave you this type of figure? Is that a polygon?
No.
Why? Because it's not closed in. I have line segments, but it's not closed in. Since it's not closed in, it cannot be a polygon. All right? Maybe. I don't know. All right. Now in example 3, we're talking about regular polygons. Here's how I know it's a regular polygon. This is also on your homework, and it could be on your quiz and test. All of the angles are the same measure. I know that by the curved symbol that will be in each angle. And then all of the sides are congruent, and I see that again illustrated by the hash marks. So that's what a regular polygon would look like, and in this case, a regular pentagon. So the polygon shown is a regular pentagon in the one below. Find the perimeter of the pentagon, and then give the sum of the angle measures of the pentagon. All right, now 2 ways you can find the sum of the angle measures. 1, you can recall it from memory, and you don't have to show any work. You can just tell me. The angle measures of the pentagon are this. Or, the way the book shows you, is to divide it into 3 triangles, and if each triangle is 180 degrees, then its measures would add up to the total of 540 degrees. Now, if it's a regular pentagon, meaning that all sides are congruent, and one of the sides is 3 feet, what is the perimeter? And make sure you can tell me how you found it. Since a pentagon has 5 sides, I can do 3 times 5 and get 15 feet. If it had 7 sides, what would I have done? 7 times 3. 7 times 3, and I would have gotten 21 feet. If it had 8 sides, I would have done 8 times 3. So, whatever one of the sides is, multiply it by how many sides the figure has. That gives you your perimeter. And if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 10.4.